What's up, everybody? I'm Bobby, and that's Chase.
That's not how you said we were going to do that.
Oh, yeah. That's not how we were going to do it. Let's try this again.
All right, go for it.
All right. Rewind. What's up, everybody? I'm Bobby.
Hello, Bobby.
And that's Chase. And this is the Castle Hour, and we want to talk to you about video games. It's September 4th, if you can believe it.
It was 2 minutes ago. You told me we were going to do this new thing.
I know.
It
I
was
got
2
too
minutes.
much. I got too much going on. God damn it. I'm losing
Ask me a
it.
question.
Chase.
Yeah.
Hello, Chase. This is video games. Do you like them? No. Chase, how important to you are game graphics?
Not all that important, I guess. Like, I want to be able to see what I'm looking at, but we used to have a category that we would do at Game of the Year time. It would be like the most graphics.
Yeah.
And I let you and our former co-host Johnny like fight that out because I did not give a shit. Style was way more important to me than
well, let me give it to you this way.
shit.
Out of these four options, which
Okay.
one would you choose? Extremely important, somewhat important, not that important, doesn't matter at all.
I guess I would lean towards a not that important.
Okay. Well, you and Threads, probably somewhere there, the least important topic is extremely important. Not that important to the people that we polled on our Threads account.
Okay.
Somewhat important one by a pretty large margin here.
That makes sense.
Not that important, doesn't matter at all. We're both locked in at 27%. Somewhat important was 40%, and extremely important was only at 7% here. But yeah, I'm a graphic slut. I love the way, like, I want all the frames. I want the frames per second. I want
what is the current not current game, because I don't want it to just be like a game you've been playing right now, but like what is the high watermark for you these days in terms of graphical slutness?
I really think that Forbidden West on PC is high up there. That game's gorgeous. It looked great on PlayStation. Black Myth Wukong continues to look really, really good. I enjoy that one quite a bit. I think this year it wasn't the best looking at times. It's hard, like, because I sometimes I appreciate style more than graphics, I think, but when you combine both of those, it's really impressive to me. I think I think that's probably, I would say Horizon, like, as far as what I've seen recently on PC, that's pretty phenomenal to look at. It's almost overwhelming to look at how good that game looks on PC.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is episode 390. We've got video games to tell you about. We got a couple new things to cover, and we're going to touch and check in on a few other things, but I don't know how in the weeds we're going to get tonight on this, but we did have a few things happen in between our preview episodes that we recorded and just some other things going on. We had a double feature from Nintendo, and we had Opening Night Live and Gamescom. We haven't really talked to you all about it. We've made some jabs at it on some of our streams outside of the show, but the plan tonight is to just check in with each other, see how that's been going, and see what we thought.
Yeah, and we had a long holiday weekend.
We did.
So I don't know, maybe people progress in games or something, and we can just chill and check in, see how things are going.
I will say here and at the end of the show, just in case you never make it through one of these, which I don't blame you, we're probably going to pause a few of our Monday and Friday streams for the next few weeks as I'm moving, and I just got a lot of irons in the fire with this and work and that, but we're going to keep the show going. We will take time off 1 week, probably the week of the 23rd of September, where we won't have anything, but we'll keep you all updated on our socials for that. But plugging that now, we'll plug it again at the end of the show and a few other times leading up to it. But we've got games to talk about today, and that's all that matters. And before we get into all the new hotness, I mentioned the graphics of Black Myth Wukong. I'm in Chapter 3, Chase. And I've been 100%ing Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 so far, finding the secrets and going into it. I'm still having just a remarkable time with that game. I wish I knew more about what was happening in the story of Journey to the West to talk to you about, because Chapter 2 has such a moment that really sucked for me, because there's a character that you get to fight beside for a secret boss, which is this big beetle. And then at the end of that chapter, you have to fight that boss. And the wild thing is the entire time that you're going through it, there's this headless monk playing a guitar, and you end up fighting a boss who's holding the headless monk's head the entire time. But there's almost like this moment of like, hey, we were kind of close, we did this thing, now we're fighting each other. That's a big fucking bummer. But yeah, I continually just find myself really enjoying it. I'm currently in jail in the game, which sucks.
Okay.
So they put the monkey in jail. I think I'll be able to break out, but there's some weird stuff happening with these like light lamp headed creatures that kind of phase you in and out of a different realm there. But the game's, I've heard it gets harder as it goes, but I've had challenges with it, but I'm finding my footing pretty well, and continually just, that game's great. Black Myth Wukong is very cool.
Nice. Well, Bobby, I've got good news for you. If you'd like to learn more about the story of Black Myth Wukong, apparently you can read 2,300 pages.
That's how big the book is?
Apparently, that's how big the book is. That
Jesus
seems
Christ.
that seems insane.
That's a life choice, my friend. Good Lord.
That is a lot. I mean, I read all of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which was split up into 3 books that were all like 700 pages each. So
this is
even
one book
even all
that's
3
that
of
big?
those. Well, I mean, I imagine they probably also break it up into multiple volumes.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently 2,300 pages. That's
Wild.
that's a lot of pages.
Yeah, it's a cool story. I mean, I think there's some cool stuff there. It's very neat. I don't know if I'll ever commit to that, but I'm enjoying it. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Bobby, would you like to hear about something that is not so cool?
Sure.
Okay. I spent my Labor Day weekend
Yeah.
a little unproductively, I would say.
Nothing wrong with that.
Let's not say things you can't take back.
Oh God.
So in addition to some video games, and I'll talk about a video game here in a second, I watched a film, a movie.
Go on.
I watched Borderlands.
How?
Um,
Illegally?
the government can't know, but
Yeah, okay.
I have seen Borderlands. It's been in my eyes. They can't take it back. I wish they could. I wish somebody would take it back, but they
don't say less words for a second. I got some questions for you. Is
Yeah,
this
go for it.
worse than the video game?
Which video game?
What is your least favorite Borderlands video game?
Borderlands 3.
Is it worse than Borderlands 3?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is it
I think no.
is it better than Borderlands 2?
No.
Okay. So it's worse than Borderlands 2. So that means it's assuredly worse than Borderlands.
Yeah, I think first Borderlands is still my favorite.
Okay.
I know it's wrong. You can't say BL drama in the chat. That means a different thing. That means a different thing. But yes, we are talking about Borderlands here. Yeah. Do you have any other questions about the film Borderlands before I give you more of like a general overview?
Where is this? Is it canon? Do you think it's canon to anything that they're doing? Okay.
I mean, there are characters that are from Borderlands in it.
Well, yeah,
it does not fit in with the story of the games neatly.
Who's the main villain of this one?
The main villain is the head of the Atlas Corporation, which is one of the gun manufacturers. It's not one we see in the games.
So it's not Handsome Jack?
No, it's not Handsome Jack. Although there is hey, this guy has like some weird mask technology that feels Handsome Jacky. And I thought for sure there was going to be a post-credit scene where you saw maybe like a Handsome Jack, and you don't. There's no post-credit scene, in fact, which was wild to me.
Well, probably because there's not going to be another movie based off how.
Well, yeah, but they didn't know that at the time.
Yeah. How was Jack Black's Claptrap?
Fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And then I guess the other question I'd have for you is there was some scrutiny out there that I was reading about prior to the movie being seen, but leading up to it,
Hmm.
the authenticity of their casting choices. And I think that people were primarily confused about Kevin Hart as Roland because he doesn't seem to be a
Sure.
comedic character. He's much bigger and more stoic. And then I think there were some people, which I don't agree with this aspect of it, but some ageism came into play for Jamie Lee Curtis's casting. Curious to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, I think it's more about I think it's more about the Kate Blanchett than it is about Jamie Lee Curtis.
Hmm.
Because Kate Blanchett's the star of this movie. She plays
Okay.
Lilith, who is one of
Yeah.
the sirens, one of the four characters you could play in Borderlands, the original game.
Yeah.
And she's fine. I think she does a good job. The character of Lilith is certainly younger in the games, but I don't really mind that too much. The thing that I mind, and I don't think there's any problem with Jamie Lee Curtis either. Yes, she's older than like what Tannis would be in the games. She's got gray hair instead of brown hair, or like whatever. I think they both do fine when it comes to acting. The weird thing is in the story, they have Tannis. They do like a flashback where Tannis is taking a very young Lilith off world as some bad stuff's going on, and the idea that I think Kate Blanchett's like 55, and I think Jamie Lee Curtis is like 60, like around that. And
Yeah.
so that the idea that this person who looks the exact same in the flashback and this person who is played by a very young child in the flashback is like, those actresses are like pretty close to the same age. It's why
Yeah.
would you do that in the story? You didn't have to do that. You could have written whatever you wanted knowing the casting. But so I don't think there's any problem with the
It's
casting
just
exactly. I think it's
the gap
why
there.
would you, yeah,
Sure.
like why, or the lack of gap. It's like you built a gap into the storytelling, but the actresses that you chose have no gap, and that is weird.
A few
Yeah.
another quick question on it. Do you
Okay.
find, and I'm sure you'll want to talk more about this, but I feel like the movie would probably, like, I feel like somebody who made this movie probably watched a bit of the game and worked off of a snapshot of the humor. And I have to
Yes.
ask, like, how terrible is the humor of this movie?
I would say that's probably my biggest issue with it is
Got it.
it feels the humor of it feels authentic to the video games in that it is all childishy kind of
Yeah.
badassy stuff,
Yeah.
like you'd get. But also the movie is PG, so
The movie's
they're
PG.
I think it's PG-13, but yes, like it's not rated R. You're not going to see
Right.
blood and guts. You're not going to see a lot of swearing, which is like what the game's all about. And I'm not saying you have to be swearing to be
Right.
funny and adult, but like the going with what they're trying to do with Borderlands, which I think is already outdated from a comedy aspect. Um,
It's tired.
and they kind of just went with like, oh well, what if we're really authentic to that, but we also had to pull our punches, and that feels boring. Like it's the whole movie just kind of feels
I guess
boring.
it is strange. Like, the more I think about it, everything you do in that game it feels very R coded, right? Like, it feels like it's going to
Sure.
be one of those, and the humor has never matched that. Like, I think that Borderlands wants to be more like a Deadpool when it comes to just like breaking fourth
Absolutely.
wall, being that type of humor, very self-referential. But I feel like it always is stuck to your point. It feels like it's a kid wearing its parents' clothes in that sense.
Hmm.
Like, and I think that that's probably like what I picked up on when I was watching this is like, well, your star-studded cast is using some worn torn material, but if it's not going to, if it's pulling punches that it needs to deliver, like, that was one of the things that I was just very confused by. And it also sucks for me because I feel like we were shedding the skin and the weight of video games not being able to break over to the silver screen or the golden screen or whatever it might be called, and we were having some really good critically received, and the fans really enjoyed them, between like Last of Us, and then you had, of course, Fallout,
And like
and
the Mario movie, like
the
you
Mario
you
movie, of
those are the
course.
easiest ones to look at. It's like, oh, the Mario movie, that's like one of the biggest things ever. Sonic the
Right.
Hedgehog, that
Right.
those all of
Right.
those movies have been incredibly popular. And then this one just kind of limps out and is not. I mean, it's not that it's a bad movie. It's just that it's an exceedingly boring movie.
Is it better
And
than Venom?
no, I had fun. I had fun watching Venom. I don't think I had fun watching this.
That's fine.
It's I do think there's some interesting things because there is some stuff that is incredibly authentic to the games. Like somebody like you mentioned like, oh, somebody probably watched a couple scenes of Borderlands and then they were able to make the movie. And it's like I think whoever the people who made this movie uh are real fans of the games in that there's a lot of things that are very specific that are very well recreated. The cars
The
look
cars and the
like
guns looked cool in the trailer.
they look like the stuff.
Yeah.
They have the Vladoff Infinity, like one of the I don't even know what you call them, the legendary guns. They had a exotic guns, whatever they're called. Um, like it looks like the gun in the game. It functions like the gun in the game, in that it never has to reload, and like that's kind of cool. I think the actor that they have for Marcus, I don't know if he's the actual Marcus. He might be. He sounds great and he acts great. He's in the movie for like all of 20 seconds, but he's incredibly good at that. They do talk about a lot of Borderlands ideas, and they're pretty well realized. The claptrap stuff, the writing's kind of boring, but Jack Black I think does
'Cause
fine,
wasn't
and
there
it
a
looks and feels like Claptrap.
the voice actor of Claptrap? There was there's some controversy with that person.
I think the original voice actor for Claptrap doesn't work at Gearbox anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm right, Scooter I know doesn't work at
Yeah.
Gearbox anymore, like the Catch a Ride guy.
Yeah.
And he was also one of the original writers of the first game. So like you're not going to get Scooter or some of those characters, but like Moxie's in here and she looks and acts like Moxie. You get a handful of things that are like, oh, that feels pretty authentic to the stuff. It's just, on the other hand, you have Kevin Hart playing Roland, and he's fine. I mean, he's fine. It's just not the character. And they're pulling things from here and there that they don't have the whole original cast in there, which is fine. It's like, but you have like two of the four, and then you didn't do anything with Mordecai and Brick, which it's not like I have some great love for Mordecai and Brick. You don't have to have those characters in there, but it's just weird how some things they felt really authentic and really attention to detail oriented, and then some other things are just like, I don't know, Kevin Hart can play this guy, it'll be fine.
Can I ask about
you may
our rated standing tall second worst video game character of all time?
Is she second? Did she not win?
I thought we gave it to Duke. Maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe we didn't give it to her.
I think she definitely won.
Okay.
I think she won over
Duke
like
Nukem
Ashley.
Was 2, she was 1.
Okay, Ashley from Resident Evil 4 is up there too. I know, but I'm pretty sure I would have thrown a fit if Tiny Tina wasn't our number one worst character.
How bad was she?
Here's the thing. I think the actress that plays her is fine, and I think the character is much more toned down from the Tiny Tina we see in the video game. She is much less a psychopath and more just like kind of an eccentric girl in the movie. And I think it's okay, but I feel like the movie really wants her to be the psychopath that she is in the games. And maybe that's just part of the pulling the punches. So I think she just lands a little flat sometimes. She's ostensibly the most important character in the film, but also kind of gets thrown off to the side in multiple ways and multiple times. She's fine. I prefer this version of Tina much more than the video game one, but she doesn't make for a particularly exciting movie.
It's not too wild to hear that they had her kind of in the center, because there are spinoffs obviously that are very popular with her character, and even though it's not my flavor for sure, I would argue that the fan base that truly enjoys Borderlands, all of them would love Tiny Tina.
Yes, I would say Tiny Tina is Borderlands,
Yeah.
or at least modern Borderlands, which is why I don't like modern Borderlands. And so yeah, you have to put Tina in there. They change her backstory to like make her more important to the story that's being told in the movie, which is fine. Again, like yeah, I don't think you need to tell the gripping tale that is Borderlands, the video game. I don't think you need to recreate that one to one, but there's a lot of
Jesus.
stuff where you're like, man, this I'm just not having all that good of a
No, of
time
course not.
in
It's
in
fucking
this movie. I,
Borderlands.
I think it's just kind of I think it's kind of boring. And here's Bobby, I'm going to spoil a little bit of the Borderlands movie because
I don't
you don't
mind,
give
but
a shit and
out
nobody
there,
should care.
just like really quick, hang on a second before you get into it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We're gonna spoil the Borderlands movie a bit.
This is your one chance.
If you don't want to hear it, leave and come back. All right.
Yeah. All right. I'm also going to spoil a little bit of Borderlands 1 if you haven't played that, or if somebody hasn't
If
finished
you've never played
Borderlands 1.
Borderlands 1, you don't want to be spoiled, leave. Come back later. Okay.
You've probably played Borderlands 1. Borderlands 1 is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Time.
So that one of the things that I remember not liking about the original Borderlands is that there is all this talk about vaults and vault hunters, and we got to go open the vault, and the whole story is about opening the vault. And at the end of the game, when you open the vault, it's not a vault of infinite wealth like everybody thought it was, or infinite guns, or all the stuff that it was talked about.
It's Vault 111
it's like
from Fallout.
it's some big it's basically like the Watchmen monster, from the graphic novel, not the film. And it's just like, oh, this tentacle monster comes out and it's a big boss fight that you fight at the end, and there really wasn't anything special in the vault. It was all just kind of a lie, which was kind of anticlimactic when you're playing the video game. And it turns out in the movie, it's even less interesting because still the whole thing is like, what's in the vault? Tiny Tina is supposed to be the key to the vault. That's the backstory stuff that they changed with her. It turns out she's not actually the key to the vault. It's Lilith. And if you played the games, you kind of know, like, well, yeah, obviously it's Lilith. And then like they're opening the vault and it doesn't even really open. It just kind of gives Lilith some extra powers. And you're going like, you made the climax even less climactic. Like it's doubly anticlimactic now. And then they do like go into the vault kind of at the end, and you see like a tentacle come out. So you're like, okay, I guess it's still the tentacle monster, but this is even less. It's for a video game. It's like, okay, I've spent 10s, 20s, 50 hours on this video game, and this was just a big boss fight at the end. I get that. Hey, it's video game writing. We're not doing Shakespeare here. But then for a film, you're like, well, I hope there would be like more of a climax to this film where the whole point is opening the vault and you only have an hour and 40 minutes to tell this story. So you probably came up with something more interesting, right? And the answer is no, not really. Like nothing really matters. And the ending is kind of just a nothing. And then everyone goes home happy. And it's like, okay, well, sure.
I appreciate your scientific endeavor here.
It's short. I'll give it that. It's an hour and 40 minutes, which, man, that's a whole lot better than watching some of these movies that go on for fucking ever. But it's not a very good film.
I can understand why it would get made. I get that completely, but goddamn, I mean, I'm honestly a little surprised by how little this movie did when it came out. Maybe this will be one of those weird Rocky Horror Picture things where like over periods it gets like a cult following. I doubt it. But
yeah, I don't think so, because it's not bad. It's not like a Plan 9 from outer space where you're like, oh, this was the worst movie ever made. Yeah. We got to go see it. It's not like The Room. It's not like those movies that you're like, wow, we got to see it. It's just mid. It's so mid, and you come out of it and you're like, yeah, I guess I watched the thing. I guess, and then you go on about your day and you forget all about it.
We'll talk more about mid here in a little bit, but
yeah.
Well, look,
anyway,
I think Borderlands. Maybe sometime you and I will crack a drink and watch it. I know we were going to go see it in the theater. I might make you watch it with me again, just so I can say you had to watch it more than I did.
it would be like it would be nothing to watch it again because it would just wash over me once more.
That's fair.
Like again, it's not heinous enough for me to go, oh, I can't believe you made me watch the Borderlands movie. It'd just be like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's
Well,
hour and
look,
40 minutes.
man,
I'll never get back, but
you
sure,
went to Borderlands and you made it back, and all I gotta say is thank goodness you're here.
it's true. Yes. Uh, yes. Thank goodness I'm here. I did play some of that. I know that you spent in your golden ticket or whatever the fuck we did. You told
Yeah.
me I had to play this video game,
Yeah.
and I haven't finished it. I know it's pretty short. I probably should have finished it in one session, but I feel like I'm really close to the end. I've kind of gone through the loop of the town a few different times now.
Yeah.
So I basically know where I'm going and know what's happening. I just need to finish the video game. But yeah, you talked about this a handful of weeks ago. But the idea here is it's this British, Welsh,
British. Yeah.
British.
Made up British town.
Yeah, made up British town. You're this tiny little dude, like not even like leprechaun size, like smaller than a leprechaun.
Can fit in a pint glass.
Yeah, and ostensibly like at the beginning of the game, like you're there to meet the mayor, and the mayor is busy, so you just have some time to wait, and you go around the town, and a bunch of people say, "Thank goodness you're here," and they give you little tasks. And I thought it was going to be a little bit more like WarioWare minigame style, where I walk into a place and they go, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. Here's a little thing you have to do," and it's a lot more like Untitled Goose Game, I would say, where you're walking around a space and maybe you're going somewhere and you're bringing something back and solving a puzzle that way, or you're just using the environment to play around a little bit. And so it looks nice. It's really like fun, funky character designs. All looks very crisp. There are these chunks of town that you walk through, and some of them will lead you to other chunks of town, but they are kind of just these play spaces for you to walk around in. I think all the writing and speaking stuff is very fun. They do give you the option at the beginning of the game to play the game in, I don't even know what that is. It's not Cockney. It's like more. It is
rough.
such dialect that I can't even remember what they ask you at the beginning of the game. Like they give you like some kind of test, basically, is like, do you understand this sentence? And one of them's like, show enough, and the other one's like, no, speak English, please. And I went like, oh, this was fun. Yeah, I'll pick this option. And then immediately I went, oh no, I can't understand this video game. I need to go back to English, please. Do what?
It'll change the menus.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like when I saw the menu, I was like, oh no, thank you. Actually, I bit off more than I could chew. Take me back to safe waters, please. But it is still very fun. I like walking around and just seeing what's going on. I feel like maybe the game's run its course a little too much at this point. Like I said, I've gone through that loop of the town a few times now.
It's a 2-hour game.
I know. It's like 2.5 hours, maybe 3 if you're doing everything. But I also just kind of figured like, oh, I would go through each section of town. I would do all the things. I would come back to the mayor's office, and then the game would be over. And it's not that. Like you kind of get thrown back to the beginning, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess I can kind of do this other thing and this other thing. And like most of the game is about finding this one guy's tools. And that's the reason you kind of keep looping. And like at some point I'm like, okay, I feel like I found all these fucking tools. Like the game's still fun, but like I feel like I'm spending more time just walking around the same spaces with less things to do, rather than big new discoveries. And sometimes sometimes there is like, oh, I've gone to this space, and when I left it changed in a way because of something else, like maybe something flooded or something fell down and it opened up a new space for it, or there's a new object that lets me jump onto a thing and get to another part of this area. But the more times I've looped it, the fewer of those new things there are. So at some point it just feels like, well, I'm kind of walking around the space I've seen before. I'm ready. But that sounds more disparaging than I mean it to be. Again, like that was over the course of like 2 hours that I played it, and I was like, oh, it was just at the end of that session where I was like, okay, I'm kind of good. I'll
good.
play the
You know
rest
what
of
it
this
is.
later. But I'm having a really fun time with it. Do you have a favorite character?
Man, I really like the guy at the very beginning that's asking for butter.
Yeah, the guy who's got his hand stuck in the sewer grate.
I like him a whole lot. And
Yeah.
then I mean, I feel bad, but I really like the guy that you keep going down his chimney and fucking up his house.
Yeah, that is pretty good. That's been the best part of doing the loop more than twice. Because the second time it happens, you're like, oh no, I can't believe I'm doing this to this man again.
Yeah.
And he's still just super chill about it. He's like, oh well, I guess that happens.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then the third time, he's like, get the hell out of my house.
Yeah, leave.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I am standing the fish and chips woman. She's
very
the
good.
owner of the chip shop. She is so good. She is on like another world.
I think that's the thing, is just like I think I even wrote like just a wonderful collection of weirdos this game is.
Yes, absolutely. Like the repairman is talking to her and he's like, do you know where the like the oil goes, like when you're done with it, like where's what happens to the grease? She's like, I don't know, I've never thought about it before.
Yeah, who cares? Just get your chips.
I'm just like, are you using the same grease, or do you have just no idea? And no, she's fantastic, and I like her little fish earrings that she's got. She's
the
great.
Guy that has you put cigarettes in the fish's mouth is really good too. I like him a whole lot. God damn, what a game.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun characters, a lot of fun stuff to do.
Matt Berry, I like his character too. The gardener.
Yes. He's quite good. He's not. I don't feel like he's in it a lot, but his character certainly does make an impact. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Awesome. I look forward to finishing it here real soon.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you checked it out. Thanks for cashing in the ticket. I've got 2 games to talk about. One will be a little bit less than the other. But there's a game I think that you will enjoy that I've been checking out called Minami, I think. Minami?
Minami, like however you want to say it. It means south in Japanese, I believe.
Cool. So this game then would be called South Lane. This is a $5 game. It's available on, I think, PC and Switch. Came out in February. It'll set you back a whopping $5. And it's very much worth that, in my opinion. This is a game of vignettes that you are building out. And it's a very wholesome, very cute, very, very beautifully animated game. The whole concept is that you are given streets to design. And when you design the street, it's not just like Summer House that we checked out, which was a lot of fun, but it's got
that was going to be my main question.
This actually has it's not quite Sims or anything to that degree, but it's got some of the Animal Crossing, some of the Sims, some of the Summer House vibes kind of wrapped up into it. And you have objectives and tasks that you'll do. You are working to score population and happiness of the population. And the first level is really just about like building out. You need to open up, I think they have you do like a boba tea shop that you want to get on the street. And you're trying to figure out how to tweak the recipe. So when you build a shop, you actually have a mini game within the shop where you get to design what they're selling.
Okay.
And the design of the stuff's really cool. So like there's basically 3 different architecture types that you can choose from when you put a new building down. And then the roof and the house have like 4 or 5 very wholesome pastel colors to choose from that you can kind of coordinate and change it up. But there's interesting things at play here, because like one level is all about, there's a town that is primarily like elderly folks that want to expand and bring in more youth as people are sunsetting and they want to have this community carry on. So you're tasked with finding a way to strike a balance to bring in a certain level of youth while maintaining some of the traditions of the elderly folks there. And things like how beautiful a city is more important to the youth than how traditional a city is. And so you open up a ramen shop there, and the elderly folks have a very traditional ramen dish that they want. But after they go to it, they give you like smiley faces above their head or frowny faces. And then they'll make comments when you click on them about, I really liked that ramen, but it needed a little bit more pork. Like, okay, cool. I'll go after this day session's end. I'm going to add another pork to it and see if I got the recipe right. And you can get it to a score of 10. And so the idea is that you want to balance out your shops to be either attracting the right folks in, color, again, plants, parks. Do you need more parks? Do you need more houses? It's incredibly charming. You basically have a day to get through it, and then the next day starts, and it might be like, hey, you need to hit your objectives in 4 days. So you are working some task into it. It's very approachable, very laid back. I think it's a hell of a palate cleanser, and especially it's on the Switch, and just kind of given the Japanese vibes that it has, I think it'd be something you would be worth checking out.
So are these like distinct levels? Like hey, here's a level, you have 4 days, you have to do this, or is it more like a Sim City where you are building out
It's
a
a
whole
level.
town?
It's a level.
Okay.
So like basically once you achieve success there, it's like, hey, you can keep going if you want, but this level's 100%. You're done here. Do you want to go to the next one? And it's like, yeah, let's go to the next one. You can zoom out on the street, and that's where you get like these casual little mini games and stuff on what you want to try and objectively do with it.
Okay. Sounds cool.
It's cool,
Like
man.
I know. So I had that issue. It makes me think about like Dragon Quest Builders again, which I know I've
Mhm.
talked about many times on the show. But I feel like that game did not set me up to know that they were distinct levels.
Yeah.
And so I built this out thinking, oh, this is like my Minecraft Forever place. And then I completed the task that they had for me, and they said, okay, next world, you lose all your shit. And I went, oh, I'm not ready to leave. What the fuck? This was not what I was promised, or not what I thought what I was promised. So I feel like coming into a game like this, where they say these are distinct levels, like this is you're going to solve this little task, and then you're going to go to the next one and solve that new little task.
Yeah.
I think that would help me out a lot. But yeah, it does, like, visually looks really cool. I mean, I know, looking at something like Summer House just looks fucking cool.
I know,
Fucking
man.
gorgeous. And this has like a different style. It's not like that perspective style. It's more like a 3/4 view.
Yeah.
That isometric style, which
The
also looks
music's
very nice.
really good too, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, just $5. I could throw that over there.
Yeah. Also, by the way, if I don't know if we'll have enough time to get into some of the back half of the stuff, let's just have a conversation. If we get there and we don't want to talk about it, we don't have to.
Okay.
But I did want to talk to you about Star Wars Outlaws. I teased this.
All right, let's talk. Let's get to the back half of the show.
You know what? You're not wrong. Man, when you were talking about Borderlands being kind of like non-offensively just boring,
I was about to ask, is it better or worse than the Borderlands movie?
So I really like the Star Wars of this game. I think the Star Wars is good, but hot damn, man, this video game feels like it was like, you know, when you go to your grandparents' house and they're like, oh yeah, soda's in the cabinet, and you go and get one. It's like, this can's from '96.
RC Cola, what the fuck?
So the problem with it is that the game is not offensively bad, in my opinion. I mean, it's bad, but it's not like there is.
Is it bad or is it broken? Because I know it was broken on launch. Or are like the actual mechanics and the things that they have you doing, are those just bad?
Bad and broken.
Okay. That's a bad combo.
There's been a ton of bugs, man. Like really weird, like not as bad as Cyberpunk when it came out, but like weird shit. Like this is a flagship quadruple A game from Ubisoft that came out in 2024, tied to one of the biggest IPs in the world. And the mechanics with it, not the mechanics, I don't know if that's the right term here. When the physics, there we go. The physics of this game is asinine, absolutely bonkers how this thing works. Like it's you just need to look up a clip of your speeder running into, I can't remember the model of it, what Luke's car is in A New Hope, what they all take into the cantina.
Oh, like a land speeder thing,
yeah. You can, they're all over the place in this game. Or animals, and dude, like if you hit them, they don't move. They're just like it has no reaction to like any physical space with it. The mechanics of the game are really drab, really boring, and really just kind of punishing because there are glitches and there's bugs with it. The checkpointing of this game is god awful, and you'll go from really strict rules of like you can't be seen to, hey, try not to get seen, and please don't kill a lot of people, but you might have to. And what will happen is that I'll come up on somebody who cannot see me, and I will go and do the animation that is very long. And by the way, a stormtrooper is wearing armor. We can both agree on that, correct?
Sure.
Okay. And it makes sense that a laser blaster and a laser sword could damage those things. But if I am a younger human being with no physical weapons in my hands, and I come up and tap you on the shoulder in your armor, and you turn around and I sock you on the back of your helmet, and you are knocked out, that makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, like
how that would work.
The helmet's supposed to stop that from happening.
Correct. And so you go to do this, and what will happen is that you'll get caught in this unskippable, unstoppable, unavoidable, really broken fucking cutscene. Not even really cutscene, animation of your character trying to take out somebody. And as you turn them around to do this, the game will fuck up and they'll see you as you're in the animation taking them
That's
out.
pretty funny.
So you will literally fail, and it starts you back at the beginning of the level.
Like you tried to do a stealth kill, and in the process of the stealth kill,
they saw
the
you.
game goes like, "Oh, I guess he saw you,"
because you turn them around. It's so fucking stupid.
Sure.
And
that's definitely a far cry, and that was not a pun. I noticed it as soon as I was saying it. It's not a pun.
Yeah.
That's a far cry from like Metal Gear Solid 5, where like somebody sees you and it goes slow-mo and it gives you like that chance to knock them out real quick before they're able to like actually call people and break your cover. For the game to go, no, we knew you were doing a stealth kill. We just decided to say fuck you anyway. That's very
well,
funny.
And I think that like yes, it sucks. And you bring up a good point here. Like, I want to remind everybody, this is the same company that makes the fucking Splinter Cell games, which are arguably some of the best stealth games ever made.
Assassin's Creed as well. Like there's a lot of stealth that that the Ubisoft people have done. There's these massive teams that all share their technology. And whoever the Star Wars team was didn't get the memo, apparently.
Well, not only that, man, but like Metal Gear Solid, and maybe more stuff will get unlocked. I don't fucking know. But Metal Gear Solid, like, you could do all kinds of squirrely shit to make sure that people didn't see you. And for a character that literally is just a run-about scoundrel that has very little arsenal under their belt, there's nothing you can do besides whistle. Chase, Assassin's Creed.
You got your tiny little pet dude, right? Isn't he supposed to distract things?
Nyx can. It can, yes, but it's right now it's either distract or attack. And Nyx, a creature literally crawling onto the same helmet, clawing it for an excessive amount of time, doesn't diffuse the situation. They're still upright.
He's no D-dog.
He's no D-dog, I'll tell you that much right now. So I think that I have a lot of issues with how that's structured. And also, Assassin's Creed, I think, was 2006, 2007, if I'm not mistaken. First one. I think that's about right. This game is literally you just going into the bushes and whistling. That's all it is. And that was shit that was somewhat provocative and thought-provoking in that time. I think it's 2007, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so here we are now, almost 20 years later, and there's other games that have been doing this. It feels so uninspired. There's no gadgets and gizmos and things that you have to where it's like, I can distract and do this. I can hack into it. The thing that probably will put most people over the edge, lock picking in video games is never the funnest mechanic. But in this game, Chase, like if I asked you, I've never played a video game before, can you explain to me how lock picking would work in a video game? Can you just give me kind of an understanding of what that would look like?
Sure. Like I would probably first go to like the Fallout one where there's like a keyhole and you have your two little springs and you try to adjust these two springs in a way that unlocks the thing. Or if you even wanted to go like the BioShock way of like it's a little mini game that you play where you mess with these tubes and it's like a little puzzle and then it unlocks, or like a code kind of thing. There's plenty of like code breaking things. So like there are lots of little ways to do it, but it's basically like a mini game. or you go like the RPG route, like a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and it's just like a dice roll of,
Correct.
it's a level 9 lock. You rolled a 10, you unlock the level 9.
So perfect. Thank you. You did exactly
Yeah.
what I need to do. Are
I'm
you
guessing it doesn't
familiar?
work that way in this game.
Oh my God, no. Do you know what a scomp link is? Are you familiar with that term in Star Wars?
I don't think so. No.
You've watched R2D2 unlock a door before, right?
Sure. Okay.
That
So
thing that
it's
comes out
like
of him.
the spins. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Sure.
that's a scomp link is what it's called.
Okay.
So in this world, you have one of those. Chase, I promise you, I could not make this up. It's a fucking rhythm game.
Okay. I guess I could see how that would work.
They make you listen to a beat, and then a light flashes, and you have to pull the right trigger at the same beat as the lights flashing, and that's how you unlock a door.
Okay. It sounds annoying, but yes.
So I don't love that, but I think that outside of like those mechanically, like the game is very broken. It's got bugs and issues. It feels rushed, uninspired, and it, like somebody said, it was like a game of the year contender if it was 2010. Motherfucker, it wouldn't even be in the conversation in 2010 if you looked at the games. That's the same fucking year that you had Mass Effect 2. You had a bunch of other fucking big ass games.
Well, I'm sure somebody doesn't mean actual 2010. I'm sure just the idea that it feels like it's 14 years old and that like these are mechanics that we've dealt with before. So the thing I've heard, I've intentionally not paid attention to this game, and then unintentionally just haven't given a shit. So it's worked out great for me. But the things that I have heard is that it's fun to be in a Star Wars world, and it feels like a Star Wars world in a lot of ways.
It does.
But also, from what I'm hearing from you, is that maybe the world feels Star Wars, but still the stuff that you're doing doesn't feel like Star Wars. Like when you're saying the arsenal doesn't have a lot to it or feel Star Warsy in that way, like I would want some weird gadgets and some stuff that reminds me of Star Wars. And if the idea is just, well, I hide in a bunch of bushes and I whistle and then I go do something else, that does seem very uninspired.
I'm not very far in it, man, because I get really frustrated when I play it. I'm just like, I'm gonna go do this, but I keep feeling obligated almost because of how much I enjoy Star Wars, and the Star Wars is good Star Wars here. But at the same time, it's just like, I don't want to have to go through all this to play this. And I think that's the problem, because the syndicate system is actually really cool. There's 3 different syndicates you're working through. And like, you know, the Hutts are one of those that everybody knows what the Hutts are. And the thing that's interesting about it is that you really have no allegiance. I mean, you could in theory, but the way it works is it's like factions, not too dissimilar from other games where you have those. The more you do and the more you invest in it, the more you can buy from them and you can get. So every faction, when you max them out, you can get a really cool outfit that kind of mimics the style of that faction if you choose to do so. But the game intentionally puts you in spots where you're never going to max out all factions. You're going to absolutely do things that will upset factions. So here's one. The Pikes in the game, they have this one vault that you find, but you need 3 key cards. And you end up finding out that those are highly sought after, and a few of the factions have them. One of which that I was in good standings with, because there's certain areas that if you're not in good standing, you just can't go in. You'll be treated hostile if you go there. But if you're in good standing, you can walk freely in there. You can shop at their vendors. That shit feels really cool because you're kind of like, I know you, let me in. But when I was there, I was following the mission objective, and it's like, hey, there's a key card here. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll just go in here and get it. I'm in good standing. I can grab this and go. Well, there's another layer in there that I'm not that good yet. So if I go there, shoot to kill. So I make my way through it. I'm trying not to kill anybody, because every time you do that, your level goes down. And I'm like, I want to stay in good standing because I got a long way to fucking haul if I'm going to get this thing. Well, all that to be said, I ended up ruining my reputation with this group because I ended up, you know, the game fucked up, did this weird shit. People saw me. I had to fight my way through it. And that was that. But the idea there that you could be playing data between them, like, oh, I actually know that there's something here I can go and get. That stuff seems really neat. The world seems neat. Being on your speeder and cruising through these planets, that's great. And it is an open world game, and you'll find things organically in it that seems neat, and there's little nuanced details. You can go to Luke's hut if you want to, and see
I don't want to do that.
Of course not. But all that being said, I don't think the game is worth your time or energy or problems. And I think it's an absolute shame that a company like Ubisoft put out something that felt this uninspired. Like, and I like all the Assassin's Creed games. They're like junk food for me. I'm really excited for Assassin's Creed. I should say I was. I'm nervous now because if this is what they're putting out, like,
I mean, the stuff I've seen from Shadow still looks pretty good. Like, I haven't cared about Assassin's Creed for a while, not since Assassin's Creed 3, and I more or less washed my hands of it. I know, like I played Origins a little bit and think there's some kind of cool stuff in there, but I was not really for the Destinyification of Assassin's Creed. I really like that first couple of games, and then I was more or less done. But yeah, that's a real bummer. I mean, an open world like a Grand Theft Auto in the Star Wars universe sounds like a license to print money, right?
It really does, man.
And it seems like something that should be achievable. There's so much to pull from in the Star Wars universe to be able to make a game like that.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of, hey, we made a video game that is sorry, I lost my train of thought on that. I was reading the chat. Shouldn't do that. But like it's not like just a Jedi story. Like, hey, we're telling stories that have nothing to do with the Jedi bullshit. Like you get to just be in the world. This is something that I ask from Star Wars all the time is can we just have more stories that are less to do about the fucking Skywalker saga. So the idea that you can go to Luke's hut and it's like, God fucking damn it, of course you can.
Well,
but,
I mean, it's
not the point of the video game. I get it.
I think
just like
between episode 2 and 3, I'm pretty sure is the time period.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, sure. You're in that time area, things are going to be happening, but like also like this person is not a part of the Skywalker saga. We don't need to keep referencing it. Like you can just tell a story in a time period. It's a huge galaxy out there. Like we do not need to make the galaxy feel smaller by referencing like the same 4 things in every single piece of Star Wars media. That's always the thing that bums me out is like Star Wars can be so big and why do we let it be so small? But yeah, it's I mean, it's hey, bummer, it's not Concord. They kept the games that you can still buy the game. It still runs kind of, and maybe they'll fix it and keep working on it.
Ship it? Why even ship it? They knew that game performed so bad in its beta. They know.
I think it's just hope. Maybe it's some sunk cost fallacy. Who knows? But at least they didn't like sign on for like some kind of animated episode of a show or something for a video game that will not be around in a few months.
Wait, what?
Secret Level, that miniseries.
Concord in it?
One of the episodes is about Concord.
No.
yeah. No. There's going to be an episode of television about a video game that nobody can buy anymore.
You've got to be. They're probably hoping now, like Jesus Christ, please let this be fucking Edge Runners from fucking Cyberpunk. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's a funny part of what is essentially a sad story.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I don't want to dance on the grave of anybody that's going to lose a job, of course, but holy shit, that's crazy.
I mean, it's all on Sony, right? Like it's on Sony for the timelines. It's on Sony for the release schedule, for putting it in a position where it wasn't going to succeed anyway. You look at the character models and they look boring for sure. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's the dev team's completely off the hook, but like there's a lot of stuff. You're like, man, Sony, like look at Helldivers. You just put out a successful game as a service, live service kind of thing, and it felt like you learned nothing. I mean, well, you definitely learned nothing because you had a whole thing about that game and that you didn't.
Helldivers, Destiny, and now this, like they're really having a hard time with these live service multiplayer games. And I love Sony single player games so much. I still love Helldivers. That's one of the best times I've had
You
playing
should.
with
I mean,
people.
Helldivers is, for all intents and purposes, a very good video game that had
Yeah,
one little PR problem because Sony was stupid, and
yeah.
then they fixed it. So, like, that's
Well,
less of an
it's
issue.
still not available in certain areas because of
Oh, is
PSN.
it? Okay. Well, you didn't fix it.
Yeah,
You still kind of fucked it up a little
yeah.
bit, but it's certainly not the disaster that something like Concord
I
was
mean,
of
it's such a
giving out
volatile
refunds and
period,
all that.
man. I also think that one of the area, like, I personally feel hero shooters is a really tough mold to break. Like, that is, and it's so stuffed, and there's been so many games that have come and not anything to the degree that Concord has, but also, like, I think a choice, like, not to spend too much time here because now we're wrapping up, but Jesus Christ, man, they have 3 tiers of service where they give away their shit. That game should have launched free to play. Everybody critiqued it for that, and they couldn't even, knowing that it didn't trend well in their playtest for it, put it on your free service, like, or put it on even for the bare level of, if you subscribe to PlayStation Plus, you get Concord for free.
Sure.
And the fact
Like,
is
yes,
that,
it's not going to sell you a bunch of copies that you might get initially, but the whole idea for a lot of these games is have the lowest barrier to entry possible, get as many people in there, get some word of mouth, maybe people spend on your microtransactions, but like, you need, this type of game needs players, and to
for
ask
sure,
for 60-70 bucks up front and then
$40 up front for
whatever,
this one.
any dollar amount is going to
Oh yeah,
be like more than free, and is a barrier to entry that requires people to know and care about your video game in a way that free to play just
not only
is
that,
easy.
but because they charged $40 for it, man, you could not play with your friends unless you had an active subscription on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
And if it
Well,
was
now you also can't play with your
I
friends,
know, dude,
because
it's
they're
nuts.
taking it offline. And I'm sure it'll come back as like a free to play thing, and maybe they'll change some character designs. And from everything I heard, the mechanics of that game are actually kind of solid
Yeah.
and fun.
Yeah.
And maybe it's actually a decent video game that once it gets a new coat of paint, people will be fine with it. And maybe we'll look back on this and be like, oh, it was like that No Man's Sky. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Now it's a good game. It's like a Rainbow Six Siege or whatever. Like, oh, like, remember when that game was bad and then it came back out and it was good? It's no Anthem for sure. Or maybe it is. Maybe it just is an Anthem and it sucks and it died and it went away and nobody ever thought of it ever again. Who knows? We'll see.
Who knows? I know we didn't get into the other stuff, man, but I'm thrilled we talked about Borderlands. That was a very nice surprise.
I'm not thrilled we talked about Borderlands, but
it had to be
the
done.
conversation was good.
We've done our deed, is what I'll say.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about this week. We ended up taking Monday off with the holiday. We were going to play more Tactical Breach Wizards. That game continues to be good. I've not played a lot of that, Chase. I'm kind of hanging out for you, and I think that I think it's in the fall that we'll get Metal Slug Tactics, but I'm hoping to maybe get through more of Tactical Breach Wizards with you and play a little bit more of that because I'm having a really great time with it, and it seemed like you were enjoying it too.
Yeah.
We talked about all the new games we've been checking out tonight, and then on Friday night, actually, it'll be one of our last Friday streams for a bit, but Johnny is going to come over with Zoe, and we're going to check out the co-op campaign of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. And reviews dropped today for that, and it seems like a pretty big hit, so I'm looking forward to playing more of that. Campaign for that one, by the way, is 6 hours, and then there's a bunch of multiplayer stuff you can do too. So
Sure.
if you want to follow along with all of our fun stuff, you can do so by going there. Thank you, Seabrass, for helping us out. And Chase, I did see a tweet today, I believe, on a new video from you. What do you got going on?
You did. It was very close to being the first week in a very long while that I didn't put something out because I had to, because we had the holiday weekend. I was gone.
Yeah.
I was out of town. When I got back on Monday, I was just too tired and I went right to bed basically. So I was like, oh God, am I gonna miss a week? And no, I knocked it out all in a day yesterday. I played some more Advanced Wars 2 in the series that I call Black Hole Sun. You can go check that out. New episode dropped today. It's good. It's we're 80% finished with that game now, so we're getting there. We're getting there. But I think this was a fun mission, and it was a fun one to play. So go check that out. And then the other podcast I do with our good friend of the show, Pierce Corshane, it's called Pilot Program. We watch the first episodes of television shows. Pierce has been pretty busy. He is part of the team that puts on PAX, and PAX West was over Labor Day weekend, so he was very busy. So we haven't been able to record our Mad Men episode yet. I'm going to give him as much time as he needs to recover from the show, but then once he's ready, we'll make that episode, and then we'll put that out there. And I'm really excited for that one. Mad Men, one of my favorite shows of all time, one of his favorite shows of all time. I think it'll be a really interesting conversation to go down memory lane on.
I've been thinking about rewatching that one.
It's good. It's good.
Nice, man. Very cool. Well, I appreciate you seeing Borderlands, so I don't have to, and I hope you can